Kia ora koutou katoa. Thanks for joining me on my hauora journey with manawa matters. It's been a long road to surgery, but we are finally here. I'm scared, exhausted, and relieved that we're finally closer to a resolution. Or at least that's what I thought.
The operation that we were talking about was an ablation, what they call an ablation. And it's pretty high tech. My heartbeat was erratic. It wasn't going round in the circuit like a normal heartbeat. It was skipping. And so that meant that they could map the heart, have a look at where it's jumping out of pattern and pinpoint specifically where to put a scar in the heart tissue so that it puts it back on track. Building a new wall to divert it back to where it should have been beating.
Wow.
Because, let's be real, whānau. If your heart doesn't beat in a regular, constant, strong heartbeat, then it can't pump that blood around your body. And that blood is pumping oxygen and other good things all around your body to all your major organs.
And the heart is the only organ that can't heal itself.
Wow. Well, there we go. So I really broke it. You know what I mean? So that ablation, I'm thinking, yeah, that's the one I want. But there were some steps. And one of them, because I've been saying, hey, yeah, I don't want to be on this medication. And they say, right, we're going to try and do this. And so the very first step was actually putting me through a cardioversion. So here we go, back to TV, because we know nothing about cardioversion. They don't leave you awake for this. They do actually put you asleep, and it's only a short procedure. But basically what they do is, those pedals? And they give you a shock, when somebody is unconscious and their heartbeat stops. They're trying to shock your heart back into rhythm. And they only get 3 goes at it. So if it doesn't happen the first time, they'll give it a go a second time, they'll turn it up. So it gives it a stronger jolt. So that's the first sort of step, aside from medication. I'm looking at you and you're going, that's bloody horrendous. But for me, I was thinking, yes, let's go. Let's go and get this done. I'm going to be better. So nothing they're saying I'm really actually taking in as being that serious, because all I'm thinking is this is going to make me better. I'm on the road. Let's go. Let's fix it. So we went in. And the first time they did it, it did hold, but 2 minutes later it was gone.
And you were burnt, eh? Did it burn you or something?
Well, see, that's by the third time. So they did it twice. It held, but it disappeared. By the time they brought me to, it had gone back out of rhythm. Then they had to bring me back another day and to do another one. So reschedule, come back, do another one. That one actually held for a couple of hours, and then it was back out again. When it was back in rhythm, I felt so well. I felt like, oh my God, there it is. I wasn't feeling mawiri or anything. So it's an immediate impact. And then the minute it fell out, that was immediate too. I literally was, almost like rolling downhill and couldn't breathe and couldn't, all that sort of stuff. So the third time they actually did it first, didn't work. They can do it 3 times within that one session. And then after that, they're just like, nah, it's too much for your heart to handle. So they did it once. That didn't work. They switched the dial up. They increased it, the power. Did it again. That didn't work. They thought, right, we've got one more try. Turn it up again. They gave me a shot. When I woke up, the pedals were etched into my chest. Yeah, it'd been burnt into my skin. It didn't stay there for good, but they were there, and I was like, this is how serious it is. Pay attention. And I'm going, hey, you burnt my chest. And I can feel it. It's sore. I don't know why I'm laughing now, but that's actually what I was doing. I was like, hey, is this going to stay here? This is not the moko that I wanted. My chest. Yeah. On top of that, that actually did work. And then I was feeling skippity-doodah, and that held for a week. So my confidence is right out there. I'm thinking, yes, we're on the way. I told you I wasn't going to be on this blinking medication for life. And then by that Friday, it dropped out and I was really sick. I was like, oh, no. And I didn't want to know. I didn't want anybody to confirm to me, even though I knew that it had gone out, because then I was due to go back in to see the cardiologist, and I just didn't want to know that it had failed again. When I got in there to the cardiologist, and then he says, oh, my gosh, that's failed. And then I got really angry and started to do the haka on this poor cardiologist. Honestly. And my husband was actually with me for this appointment. Just to that point too. After my husband not being in the room with me when I got my diagnosis, what we learned is that you must have somebody with you, because you are mawiri, you're not taking in all the detail. And you need another set of ears. Whānau, you need another set of ears to pay attention, because you're not going to hear everything. It's too confronting. Even if you're writing it down, you're going to miss it. That's why you need somebody else who's taking notes and asking those questions that you're not able to ask. Anyway, back into the cardiologist's office, and he tells me it's failed. I just go right off. This cardiologist wouldn't even look me in the eye, because he was trying to work out, why did it fail? He was doing the math in front of us. It was almost like we went there and he's walking through, now, why did that fail? We did this, and he's doing the math out loud. And by the time he finished, I just said, you told me it would work. This is where we went, eh? I went, right, full throttle. You told me it would work. This is what you said that we were going to do. Now, why didn't it work? And he was like, not even want to look at me, because he's trying to figure out, why didn't that work? And then my husband's looking at me like, what the hell is going on? Like, it was very awkward. Because then there was silence, me waiting for an answer. And then I realised, hey, he's actually trying to work out what the hell went wrong. And I just said, look, we need to be on the same page, you and I. And we need to be on the same team. I want to be 100% medication free. That's what I want. That's the only outcome I'm looking for. What you need to realise is that you guys are on my team. I'm not on your team. You're on my team. And that's the only outcome that I want. Tell me what I need to do to make that happen, and I'll do it. I know I broke it. I'm here to fix it. I'll do my job. You do yours. You're the expert. Tell me how realistic it is going to be to get me there, because that's the only outcome I want. But we need to be on the same page, you and I. You're on my team. I'm not on yours, because nobody's feeling the pain more than I am. And then after that, he just clicked in and started talking academically and just went, right, okay, if that's where you want to go, here's what we're going to do. And then he just laid it out. He said to me, you will be on this medication. He starts talking to me like, hey, don't muck around. You wanted to know? Here it is. You need this medication because it's the only thing stopping you from having a stroke. You need to get comfortable with that. Do you want to go for the operation? He said, but that is the last resort. It is not the first resort, because it's the most invasive. He said, we're going into your heart and playing around with stuff in there. That's the last thing that we actually want to do. It's the most extreme measure. And I didn't realise that. I'm just thinking, fix it, give me an operation, get me out of here. And he's saying, no, that's not the way we need to do it. That's why we're stepping you through the cardio version. That's why we're doing all these stages. This is what it's going to take. If you're in it, then this is what we're going to do. And after that, I was fine. I was like, right, okay, I understand.
Amazing. Amazing to think of that support as being part of your team. I don't know that I've heard that whakaaro before, but I think it's a really strong one, you know, in that sense, because you're right, you're not on his, he is on yours.
Yeah.
very pivotal by the sounds of things, because you're about 6 months into the diagnosis at this point.
Not even that. We were like 3 months.
That's a lot, eh? It's a big push in a short amount of time to get to this kind of stage, given the rest of the journey that you had to go on.
Definitely. And so I felt like, right, okay, now you've heard me. Now we're hearing each other. Now we're talking the same language. The next time I come and see you, this is what we're aiming towards, and he's going to do everything he can to get me to there at the right pace, not my racing to the finish line.
But some other people had to join the team to get you there too.
That really highlighted to me, we need to be in control of our own journey here. It was then that I realised, hey, it's unusual for you to get patients walking in who don't want to be on medication, who aren't just holding their hand out for a quick fix and a quick pill. And it was then that I realised that I was the exception to the rule. When you think about your doctor and how many patients they see all day, day in, day out, and then if they don't give them anything, then we're saying, hey, I'm paying you. What am I paying you for if you're not giving me medication? You're not fixing me. And that's the way that we've been conditioned around our health. When I pay, I want to see results. And if you tell me, hey, no, you just need to go home and have a sleep or whatever, and you don't give me anything, I've got no proof that you've done anything for what I'm paying you for. That's when I start taking notice and paying attention. I don't want to be on your medication, and I'll do whatever it takes to get out. And if that means an operation, then that's what I'm working towards. And the reality is, I didn't realise it was going to take 2 years to get to the point of being able to even be considered you can have that operation. 2 years later. So I'm thinking, woohoo, this is going to be over within, 6 months max. You know, I can have that operation. It's going to be done and dusted, and we're on to the next thing.
Because you were going to turn 50 and you had plans for a big 50th. And you were thinking about returning home. I remember that was all in the mix for you. So you had lots of big dreams.
So I was still making plans and for after, when I'm actually healthy. We get the diagnosis in 2018. The next couple of years is every 6 weeks being monitored, trying to get the dosage down. Cardioversions, they didn't work. They took enough time on their own because you can't just keep going in for one every week. It's too much damage. So it was a lot of that over the next 2 years. And so I had a lot of time to start thinking about, how did I actually get here? And why don't I like myself? Why did I treat myself so badly? And no one wants to be looking at that when you're on long-term medication and you're also getting those side effects. So sometimes I'd be like, yeah, okay, so I can see the source of what happened and what was behind that sort of behaviour. And then other times I'd be really depressed about seeing that, feeling really pody about the fact that I had no kindness for myself. Throughout that 2-year period, that's actually what kept coming back to me. Why were you so unkind to you? My body, literally on the inside, was having a tonguey. I felt like it was.
What do you think was the answer?
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was worthy. And I don't know where that came from. Or not that I don't know. I have ideas of where that came from. I mean, I have memories coming back when I was 5 years old and in primary school, and these girls not wanting to play with me and me not knowing why, and them saying to another girl, no, she's Maori. Now, bless her heart, because she felt pody for me, and she became my best friend all the way through to college. And so I've always remembered her, and I know that she would still have that pure heart today. And she had that then. You know, and it's things like that I remember. But the feeling of that, you know, the pain of that, of being ostracised, and you're just a 5-year-old kid showing up to school, playing with everybody else. Where does that come from? You're not born with that. If I wasn't born with that, it means that you're taught that. But anyway, you know, there were a collection of other things that came to mind, and that really spoke to me because my heart would I'd feel sad and I'd feel that pain again. And then I'd go, wow, that's one of them. And when you get a lifetime of those things being built up inside and you don't deal with it because we normalise racism and we normalise bad behaviour and treating others unkindly, I mean, that's just being real. And we accept it, we make it acceptable within our community. And then we put up with the jokes that are clearly racist. Nobody wants to sort of fight back and make it look like, oh yeah, now you're aggressive. Hearing people call you a coconut and knowing that in the 70s that was very much the lingo. How much of that do you understand when you're a kid growing up in that?
Sort of makes you see why you were running away from yourself, though.
That was happening outside of my whānau group. My whānau was very strong and very loving. And I also had grandparents who were intolerant of that treatment.
I suppose what it says is that we all carry our trauma. Just a little 5-year-old girl who wanted to play with some kids, and that damaged your heart.
Then every other mamae after that through your life, some of that is because of that normalised pain and like, oh yeah, well that's how they are. Don't worry about it, nothing you can do about it.
And we put that stuff in places. We're realising that now. And I'm not a doctor, but it seems to me because you lead with your heart that's why your mamae manifested in your manawa.
And then eventually you don't lead with your heart and you get hard. There's that unkindness, right?
There's your answer to that question.
Oh,
yes.
there it is.
Aye. So you've got this amazing team now that's going to help you rebuild your heart, and your whānau's in that team.
Yeah.
And you've got doctors in that team, and you've got books in that team. What else?
I've got other help that I was getting at that time. I knew that there was other stuff that I had to work through, but the reality is that I was already investing everything I had into physically trying to get well. Eventually I'm going to have to face up to being obese and overweight. Do I go on another diet? 200,000 blinking diets I've been on all my life, a lot of them repeated diets, the same diet, different age. And then starting to go walking to be consistent, getting back in the pool, even at that size, just getting back into the pool and going for it. I actually did end up going on a few eating programs, another one, here we go. A lot of these things are they're great for 3 months. They're temporary fixes. But also that's what I was starting to realise is that, wow, I'd never looked at having a healthy eating plan as a rest of my life decision. It was always like, oh no, we've got an event coming up, so I need to fit into that. It was never about, oh, I don't feel well, I think I really need to move this and become more healthy on a long-term basis. Everything to do with health and weight and diet for me had been on a short-term basis. It was like, oh no, just to get from point A to B and then that's it. And then feeling great after 3 months, so like, woo, you've lost some kilos, feeling good. And then you're like, oh, well, I don't have to worry as much. Or I can have a little bit more of that. Or I can do this. And next minute you're back where you started. Just on that cycle. Really, it came down to me having a think about those things, trying to do something about it, not really getting that far, and still staying focused on whether I could have that operation or not. And then 2020 rolled around. COVID shut down the world, and never mind having an operation because even that was cut off. It's 2020. Well, obviously, I had to go for all my doctor's appointments. It was still the same process. It was just like more restrictions. That was the year I was turning 50. Before the closures came in, I was like, yep, planning this big 50th back in Raro. And then COVID shut the world down. So, yeah, we couldn't go anywhere. Aside from that, it was about a week out from my birthday, and then I get a phone call from the surgeon. We've been given the go-ahead to open the theatres, so you're able to have your operation.
Wow.
So we're going in 2 weeks. They had booked it in. And I was like, yippee, da-da-da-da, here I am, really excited. This is the day I've been waiting for. And then I was...
You were anxious and nervous.
Yeah.
I remember you went the other way almost,
literally. So After my birthday, that's when I started to get nervous and anxious because I was sort of like, hey, what if I don't make it? What if I don't actually come out of this operation? Now, bearing in mind, at no time had any of my team, like the surgeon, the cardiologist, my GP, none of them had said that this is a high-risk surgery outside of the normal risks for a surgery. They had said nothing like that. It was me. I was like, hey, what if I don't make it out? And do we need to have a talk about what's going to happen if I don't make it?
Is that when you did your will?
I had already done our will, but I had to really look at it. And on top of that, the other restrictions were still in place. If I didn't make it, you can't take me home to be buried because the borders are closed. It was like, hey, actually, we do need a plan. We need a different plan because if I don't make it, I didn't want my husband or my daughter being faced with the additional trauma of now what do we do and how do we get her home?
I know too that Paula, that Jordan and Tony, I mean, it's not PSTD, it's not that, but they were actually going through it. And I didn't have enough. I mean, at that stage, I'm right on the precipice of having this operation that we've been waiting for. And by that stage, I literally have only got enough in me to get myself to there and having that operation. Didn't have enough in me to awhi them. That's when your whānau come in, eh? That's when those po come in to help, though, because you did have good support systems.
Yeah.
They were able to, but it's certainly that whānau side of things.
But I never thought about the conversations that were going on here in Aotearoa. I never thought about what anybody else's feelings were, how Mum felt about the fact that she couldn't come to awhi me. None of them here could come over. I didn't even think that any of them were thinking about doing that. And why wouldn't I think that? Of course they would. We had done it together for others within the whānau. Why wouldn't they? Of course, there would have been for some. Within my whānau, there would have been that kōrero going down. Yes, I had to take myself there because I didn't want them to be unprepared and I wouldn't be there to awhi. I really did have to have that kōrero. Yeah, definitely with my husband. And actually, he had been my strongest advocate all the way through. And now we get to a week out and he decides to fall apart. I shouldn't laugh. He could no longer hold it in. And to be even worse, I couldn't even give him the awhi he needed because I was like, hey, you can't fall apart. I've got barely scraps taking me through to this operating table, eh? I can't awhi you. I can't give it to you. Because for the first time I was putting myself first. That felt alien too because really I wanted to awhi him, but I didn't have anything left to do it. Everything I had was driven to getting me to this moment of having this blanket operation. And I was so looking forward to it because I was like, yes, and then after that, we're going to start reducing this medication, get me the hell off it.
And did that happen?
No. It didn't happen. And I was devastated too. And the other thing is, because of the restrictions, I couldn't have anybody in there with me. I mean, whānau will know during COVID, like having a baby, that wasn't even a reason enough to have your partner in there with you. Drop off at reception, that's as far as you go. And then I'm going up with strangers. People are prepping me. Met the surgeon once. I don't know any of his nurses, whatever else. All those things are running through my head. You're sitting there with a mask on because everybody in the hospital's in a mask. Yeah, it's very impersonal, but I was very focused. Literally was in one day and out the next day. But it was a lot because any surgery is. So anyway, that was the first surgery. We got home and I was like, yes, we're on the up and up now. And then they start reducing my medication. And then I literally start having what appeared to me to be signs of a heart attack. And because I'd been on 2 years' worth of medication, I'd never felt the impact of my illness because the medication was managing it and controlling my illness. And because we were reducing the medication, it's the only way that you can make sure they know the mahi that they've done. They've gone tick, tick, tick. We've created the right path for it. We're happy with what we've done. What happened is that because of the initial heart problem, it was masking another problem with the heart underneath it. Because my heart rate was so erratic, they couldn't see it underneath. It was also playing up. And that's why I started having heart attack symptoms. The first day it happened, because I'm recovering at home and my husband had gone to work, it was in the morning, and I thought, what is that shooting pain up my arm? And I was like, in denial, going, no, because they fixed my heart. It's not that. It's not that. I just kept saying that. And then, I had an app on my phone to track my heart rate, which is something that you just need to do all the way through. I've been doing that for 2 years. I immediately got on that app. My heart rate was at 194. And I don't even know why I was still actually standing.
What does that mean? Like, if we don't understand what our normal rhythm of a heart is, and what is that?
Yeah, that's way over. It's like going, brrr. That's your heart rate. And it's not slowing down. It almost has to get a shock to stop going there, to stop climbing.
So you were in the ambulance and on your way back to hospital?
Well, let's talk about the ambulance, because this is where my mind was at. I was like, hang on a minute, I probably need to call someone because I'm at home alone. And then I was like, no, I'll have a shower first. I know, just ridiculous things. And I go, yes, no, have a shower first. You haven't had a shower, so have a shower because you'll end up in hospital. Just ridiculous. I know I'm laughing, but I mean, this is actually the crazy stuff that was going through my head. And I did have a shower, and then I decided, yes, prep a to-go bag. And I was just delaying. Meanwhile, my heart rate is still going to town. And I'm trying to say to my heart, hey, calm down. Just calm down. It did actually recede, but it still only jumped down to, I think, 134 or 144, which is still high.
I think I was talking to you when this happened, actually, because I can remember you going, oh, it's quite low now. Like, what does low mean?
Yeah, just in comparison to this morning.
Yeah.
So that's right. That's what was happening. And then my husband didn't come home until later on that day. And then I said to him, this is what happened to me, and I think we need to go to the hospital. And he was like, when did this happen? And why are we still here? But then after that, I was like, should we call the ambulance? I literally didn't know if I could call the ambulance. All of a sudden I was thinking, what if they turn up and it's not like that anymore? And then they'll be mad because I've called the ambulance for no reason. All the while, my heartbeat is going all over the place. This is how ridiculous that is. I don't know why I was doing that, but that's just basically what my reaction was.
I think it's that human element when we're not used to calling ambulances or having
Not
a
used to asking
preconceived
for help.
idea of what calling an ambulance should entail. What does an emergency look like?
And you know the phrase that kept coming back to me is that, no, can't call an ambulance. My eyes are still open. I'm still walking around. Why would you call an ambulance? Did you have to be knocked out unconscious? This is all the random crap that's going through my head. Not able to ask for help, which is another reason why I had no kindness for myself, right? It's another underlying problem to the many layers of why I didn't, value myself enough to treat myself. Even 2 years later and even past the first surgery, still going, oh no, someone else might need it. I'm not sick enough. My eyes are wide open. Ridiculous stuff like that. And then finally, my husband, sanity returns and he goes, no, we will be calling the ambulance now. And even when the ambos got there, they said, you must always call the ambulance because, your husband is driving the car. What if something happens to you? Would you think he's going to be able to handle something worse than what he's already dealing with? while he's driving a car. And they also said, regardless of whether it came down or not, we have to still take you to the hospital because we don't know why it happened, given that you've already had the first operation. And that actually happened every second day for the next 2 to 3 weeks.
That's right. That wasn't your first trip in the ambulance.
No.
That was one of many, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the many. I'm sure my neighbours were going, hey, what the hell's going on? And it was scary because that was the first time that I was like, wow, this is no good. Obviously it's failed. And then we have to wait again to get a date for the surgery because now the restrictions have been eased. All the surgeries were backed up. You know, it was tough to get in when we had the first surgery. Now we're looking to have a second surgery. But my surgeon, he was also going between private hospital and public, and he managed to get me in the public within 3 weeks. But because it had highlighted the other issue, they then had to remap my heart. And the mapping, it's an all-day affair. But what they're doing is trying to get really pinpoint accuracy of where they need to burn the new path. They're literally creating scars in your heart wall. So we go back for that because you have to have, it takes a couple of hours in the morning to get it done. Then you have to have a break. You come back in the afternoon and have it done all over again. And that's just getting ready. So yes, back on the medication at a higher dosage, and they're doing everything they can. They, meaning my cardiologist and my GP. I'm just like, yeah, fix it, but I just don't want to be here again. Hey.
And did it work that time?
Yeah, luckily it did work that time. But I wasn't excited about it. I was pretty deflated because it was like, really? Have you worked? Are you going to work? You're just teasing me that you're going to work. I don't want to get my hopes up because this is just too hard. It was too hard. Now, by the time we get to the first surgery, just prior to that, I had gotten real with myself. And I was just like, no, you can't fix your heart and then carry on the way that we've been going because it'll just break again. I had tried to do other diets, food programs in this 2-year period, getting back onto exercise, and none of it was working because, you know, there were other problems going on, that's why. But then I just thought, no, get real with yourself. If you haven't done it yet, you certainly are not going to do it after you've had heart surgery. You're just not. Get real. You need help. And that's when I decided, no, I'm going to have a gastric bypass and I'm going to schedule it in because I actually need immediate help. And I had to get real about that and stop kidding myself that I was going to do it with another diet and another training program. You know, and that was hard to swallow, but I was glad to swallow it because I was just like, no, you want to save your life, do everything you can to save your own life. And if that means a gastric bypass, that's exactly what it's going to mean. Get over it and get it done. Because I don't want to be going through this again. I want to be off this medication. I'm still stuck on that, right? I'm focused. And I'm like, yeah, get real. Get in there and get it done. So I did. I had booked it in. So that's before the second, we had to go back in for a second operation. It was booked for December. The second operation was in October.
That's right. I remember there was that big worry that because that didn't work, that you might not be able to have the other, and everything was sort of kind of stacking on everything else in terms of your water journey.
Exactly. So mentally I am actually getting better because I'm fronting up, taking accountability and saying to yourself, get real, girlfriend, right? Just get it done. Just accept the fact that, you're 50 now and you hadn't done it before now. You're not going to do it after. Don't be silly. And do whatever you can to save your own life. I want to be here. That's what I kept saying to myself. I want to be here and I want to be living well. I want to be here. That was my mantra all the way through. I want to be here. And it was, initially it may have been, I want to see my grandchildren. I want to be here for them. But actually, I want to be here for me. Hey, I want to be here for me. I don't want to be limping through life now that I know that's what I've been doing. I want to be independently healthy. And that's, I could see it, right? I literally could see it. I could visualize that. The more I kept saying, I want to be 100% medication free. I want to be here to live my life, and I want to live it well. I don't want to waste any more time. And it was more around, this is where I want to be. I want to skippity-doo-dah through my life, not bloody limp, and drag myself through it and not enjoy being here.
Welcome back to Manawa Matters. Ngā mihi kia koutou e te whānau. Big thank you for staying with me this far. Coming up in the final episode, I'm down but not out. Gee, thanks universe.